It's been a while since I've been on a deep dive into a PS1 title, with the last one I did being Hell Knight back in 2023, so it's safe to say it's time I take another shot at a PS1 game. And what better way to come back into reviewing another one than to dive into something even more obscure than Planet Dob was. A title so under the radar that I couldn't even find really anything regarding info on this besides 2 guidebooks, a soundtrack CD, and the demo disc for it, with this game having some big names behind it like the designer for the early Digimons we know and love, also having one of Mischief Maker's head artists, and even the director of Final Fantasy 15. So why is this so hard to find any info on when I just mentioned those 3 people had some impact or part in the project? It has to do with the fact it's an RPG only ever released in Japan, and the name for this RPG is very generic. To the point when I first heard this ever be brought up to me, I assumed it was a collection disc, but no, it's a self-contained game. Because of this weird name choice, trying to find any info on this that wasn't from the guide or soundtrack CD was impossible. Not even searching in Japanese really helped find any results that wasn't something I could have discovered from the guidebooks. And to add even more to the mystery as to how nobody knows about this title was published by Enix and had help from Wiz and System Seicom. These are 2 companies not to scoff at. With System Seicom known for its novelware series, to those who don't play visual novels like me, you might not be aware of who these guys are, but it's thanks to them and their game called 380,000 Kilometers of Void that we were able to bring MIDI files into our virtual worlds and have crisp and glorious music that FM audio couldn't dream to match. I mean, listen to this shit. That's history right there, baby, hell yeah. Sounds fucking awful. Wiz, on the other hand, is owned by Akihiro Yokoi. You know, the guy responsible for the virtual pet devices called Tamagotchi, and even the Digimon machines that came out later. Now, I will state this before we go further. Even though I have names from the end credits, guidebooks, and soundtrack CD references, there were some people in this list that I couldn't find out who they are at all. And even with the ones I could get info on, none of their portfolios even mentioned this being something they worked on at all. So searching up the name and adding the game's title after wasn't really something I could do to verify who worked on what. Meaning, while I'm at least 99% confident I got my info correct and made sure to double check my sources the best I could, there is a chance that something could not be fully accurate. This is just what happens when you have a topic with no exposure on both the American and Japanese side of the internet, to then have the task go to a guy like me from Texas who knows barely any Japanese at all to tackle it and barely can fucking read English, so mistakes could happen. I did, however, exclude the majority of the info I wasn't confident on or couldn't find anything regarding it unless said info was really important in some way, shape, or form. Now, if I do include something that I'm mixed on, I will at least state what I found and make it clear that I wasn't able to verify it to the level I would have liked. However, as I said before, I'm 99% sure that what I found is correct information, and I will, to the best of my ability, share this info with you all. But man, I can't lie, the fact that it was so hard for me to find anything, it really intrigued me to do this deep dive, since this is probably the most uncharted sea of info for any PS1 title that I've come across. Also, I want to thank R7 for being the sole reason why this video even exists in the first place. Not only recommending me to look into the topic, but being the person who single-handedly helped me make it to the end to show you guys the true ending. As without them, I don't think I could have done this on my own, especially not with how awful Google Translate is, since I'm playing this on actual hardware and not using a CRT. So the text is quite blurry and at times impossible for my phone to even read for it to be translated. So again, huge thanks to them. Without further ado, let's learn what this obscure music-focused RPG known as Great Hits has in store for us.
Like this.
Now, this game was published by Enix, you know, the company that brought you hits like Star Ocean and Dragon Quest. This was also back during the days before they merged with Squaresoft to form Square Enix, so this is why they're just called Enix. Now, you would assume a company known for its huge, groundbreaking RPGs with amazing turn-based battles, we would be talking about another hidden one on the PS1. which I guess it's an RPG, but just not on the same grounds like Final Fantasy or their other titles. Instead, this is more in line with Moon or Tulip, a journey with no battles, but still has you exploring a weird, wacky world to accomplish a set goal. Now, if you take a gander at the game art on the cover, I don't think anyone will be able to guess what we do to reach the end. For me, I assumed this was a fashion adventure when I first saw it, and even I was way off. No, instead, the way you complete the story in Great Hits is to edit music videos and try to have the #1 VC in the whole town. Yeah, I'm not joking. When I saw this was the gameplay, I was interested, but also confused. Personally, I can only think of one title that even is close to this in terms of music and videos being the main gameplay loop, and that's TV DJ, where you change what is going on based on your inputs to the music. Even with the similarities, these don't play the same. Great Hits feels like a fever dream to try out. Walking around the world and seeing the wacky backdrops and buildings, it screams to me what someone who's never been to Las Vegas thinks Las Vegas looks like back before the 2000s. I can tell the director was of course intrigued at least to some extent by Vegas, as there is a place in this called Vegas Town that we can explore. This truly is the most unique aesthetics I've ever had to lay my eyes on. I couldn't compare this to anything, as it really does such a good job to carve its own identity. Nothing on display really ever had me going, oh yeah, I've seen this done before. Now, if you were to ask me if I think Great Hits looks good though, I feel that would have to come down to what day you run into me. Sometimes I look at this and love the charm it brings and really feel it's appealing. Then other days I get a huge sense of overload on my eyes. I don't think you would find too many people who would tell you this is pure eye candy to look at besides the weird degenerates like me. The creepy faces on the buildings, all the multitude of colors clashing and forming together. Some buildings straight up just use pictures of people as the wall textures, and the weirdness doesn't stop just because you enter a building. Inside houses, you get these backdrops that feel like placeholders the devs decided to leave in the game, as some have English text and trippy textures that can outright make you feel you're imagining what you're seeing. While this all combines into that intriguing identity Great Hits holds, I still wouldn't say someone is wrong if they got a headache from looking at this. I think the biggest part for me where Great Hits lacks is the character sprites. Not all of them, but a good amount are very hard to look at and actually digest what I'm viewing. I will keep in mind that there is a chance if I was looking at this on a CRT the way it was meant to be gazed upon, it probably would look better. But things like the main character and some of the other side NPCs you run into, especially this girl who's a big part of the story ends up looking like this Muppet character from the side, I can say a good amount of the sprite work for characters just doesn't look appealing at all. The same can't be said about the 2D art though. Look at the main character who goes by the name Pop Chips with his swirly eyes, cat ears on top, and the fit just feels right when I see him like this. But back to the sprite, it feels too cluttered and overly detailed, but not in a good way. Seeing these two side by side makes me feel like they're not even the same person. Since we're on the topic of 2D art, it says in the guidebook on the last page, there's credits for people who worked on the 2D illustration, so that means I know who worked on it, but man, I can't seem to find any info even with having a name to work off of. Now, I did come across who I think did the art after a bit of digging around, as Google each time would end up leading me back to the site of some art group. Now, for why I think this is the same guy who was credited in the guidebook comes down to these few pictures from a children's book about teaching you English, as the way the eyes and hair are drawn here are exactly how Great Hits art looks like. And like I said, it would lead me here when searching the name of the artist, making it safe to say the owner of the site is the 2D artist specifically for the guidebooks. Now, Great Hits, while spending the majority of its time in 2D, this is the PS1 we're talking about, so of course, we have to have 3D be involved. Which, oh man, I love the 3D art for Great Hits. Gazing upon these models as they all have their very skinny proportions, reminding me about the memes of, where are her organs? These models really give off a Tim Burton style, mostly his Nightmare Before Christmas era. Looking at this green guy that's always holding a guitar, or this long-armed and legged goth chick. It's ugly but appealing, just like how a lot of Tim Burton style is. Seeing the characters move and dance around in the 3D space is a nice treat, as you can have different talents for each song, and the vibe they give off from their movements can really help sell if they're a good fit for the VC you're creating. Plus, a really neat detail is that some of the talents will change how the vocals sound in the song, which can either make it sound amazing or as if a dying cat was let loose in the recording booth. They easily could have just given all the characters these same preset animations, but no, the devs went the extra mile to make sure each person you can use has their own way to express who they are, even if the animations they do get aren't all that abundant and will be the same no matter the song. It's still impressive they have their own to begin with. I feel my favorite are these two characters here that we will learn more about later. Getting to watch them come together in the middle and just let loose, you can feel the history these two share as they work so flawlessly together. Now, out of all the talents in the game, my favorite character is this girl here. Wait, hold on before I say anything else. My favorite character is this jolly fellow here who goes by the name Chop and is canonically 100 years old. Now, I won't spend too much time gushing about their designs till later, as I want to save that for when they actually show up in the game's story and give each character their own segment. But the designer who created these wacky characters is someone I'm sure you've heard of, that being Kenji Watanabe. If somehow this name doesn't ring a bell, it's the main guy responsible for the most iconic early Digimon designs. I legit was shocked to see his name show up in the credits, but again, with the Wiz helping on developing this, it makes perfect sense he would be there. However, Great Hits seems to not only have Wiz and System Seikon helping create the game, but the main devs go by the name Siege, which surprisingly is still making games to this day. Hey man, I just said that they're still making games, not that they make good shit. It's impressive to see these three teams come together and help create a 2D/3D hybrid adventure that revolves around music. Now, whenever you're not seeing these amazing low poly models, the gameplay will be strictly 2D art. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. I haven't even covered the driving force of the game, the music side to Great Hits. Also, this is me taking a quick second to say, I'm pretty sure I won't be able to monetize this video since I will be playing out the songs to showcase them. If somehow I'm lucky and this video doesn't get blocked or demonetized, then cool, but in reality, the chance is slim. So normally, I don't like to plug my Patreon in this way, but if you truly like what you're watching and want to support the channel on making these deep dives, please consider becoming a member for $1. All of the money I make from Patreon goes strictly towards buying things for the videos, like guidebooks and whatnot, as I don't plan to ever use the money you guys give me for personal bills, as I feel that if you're giving me money because you like the videos, then it should strictly be towards that. I will also make it very clear if I ever purchase something with said Patreon money. I will just say getting guidebooks isn't cheap, so it would help out a lot. Plus, whatever books I purchase, including the ones for this game, will be on my Patreon for free, so you can also be certain to receive scans of them at no cost. But yeah, support or subscribe if you like. Back to the video.
マスタームーブに続き超ポップな音楽系ゲームソフトグレートヒッツの登場だ。今度はビデオクリップアーティストに挑戦。
From what I could gather, the Great Hits team were heavily inspired by MTV in the music videos they would air to the millions watching, with one of the books even mentioning MTV as an example to drive just how popular the combination of music and videos are. I mean, it makes sense why this would have been brought up in some form, especially at the time with MTV being the powerhouse that it was for this specific category of television, at least when it was the music channel. So I can see why the devs were intrigued by the broadcasting network in some capacity. Plus, the Great Hits team were so dedicated to the idea of pushing music video production as a huge part of the game, they even went the extra mile to have an interview with a director by the name of Takashiro, with him going into detail about things he created, tips on camera work, and the do's and don'ts of filmography. Like, the man is giving real life advice about film production and correlating it to in-game tips. You can't make this shit up. I also laughed because everything he said not to do was something I was putting in all the VCs I created, so I guess none of this matters. Now Great Hits really loves to brag about his choice of bands. Even in the trial disc, there's an image where it tells you more info about the talents they got to create music for this, with a whole section dedicated to listing off each artist and some of the songs they worked on for the game. Firstly, we will cover the official soundtrack CD release and who partook in the creation of it, while covering the in-game songs as we come across them, with the most notable person being Koji Sakurai, who's made music for Sega on the hit game Sonic Riders. Oh, hold on, there seems to be a DAW blocking the logo. Let me get out of here, dude. Go, yeah. Ah, yeah, Sonic Free Riders, my bad. Plus having a band called Mind Design back in 1994. It was a duo group that consisted of him and the guy behind some of Jet Set Radio's and Sega Rally's OST. with it being Tomonori Sawada. If you're interested, their album can be found on YouTube with Koji making these tracks on the project. Now, when it comes to the Great Hits soundtrack CD, Koji was responsible for the arrangements on majority of the songs, with him doing keyboard and additional programming for a select few also. As for the people who did the singing and the specifically, we have Qumico Fucci, YOSHIYA SATOU, Chie Kajiura, and Kent Frank. Starting with the only name I'm 99% confident I would mess up, Kent Frank is a DJ, music artist, and a voice actor, known for his role as Diesel in Johnston and Friends, Funky Alien in Super Milk-chan, and his most notable voice work is playing a wacky taxi driver known as BD Joe from Crazy Taxi.
You're gonna love this.
In the Great Hits album, he does the song Hands to Hands, adding his sweet melodic singing to this backing track. Before that, he released a project with Kazuya Kobayashi called Wet Dreamer. I can't show the album art because it's straight up porn. Next up is Qumico Fucci. Not much is known about her, but apparently she did have an album released back in 2017 and was said to be working on her next solo project, but as far as I'm aware, nothing came from that. She, however, released her debut track back in 1993 with the song titled Rasaya. Since then, she was making music pretty consistently, with her soon getting the chance to be on the Great Hits album and sing the song titled Toku wa Narete, which in my opinion is the best track on the album by far. And cool little thing, she was the only person to ever email me back, with her response being that she was aware of the game but never played it at the time of release, so they couldn't really give me a lot of info on it. I did try to clarify it was more about the soundtrack CD itself, but again, language barrier and all, but at least though she still responded. This now leads us to our next person who helped with backing vocals. We have Chie Kajiura. She did have a website at one point, but upon checking it, it leads to an error page. Thank God for the Wayback Machine. Overall, her biggest call to fame seems to be she dubbed a character on an anime called Macross 7, providing the voice for Mylene Genius. I don't know anything about this cartoon, but the design seemed cool. During her time of music production, she made 2 full albums and a bunch of singles. Her last public appearance that I can find, however, was back in 2014 when she showed up to the Macross 7th 20th anniversary at the Kanagawa Prefecture Hall. All I can find of footage for them playing live is their 2012 and 2007 show, but it's cool to see she still makes appearances. Lastly, we have YOSHIYA SATOU. He did vocals plus played the guitar for the track Goodnight, You Make Me Smile. Now, he did help with the actual in-game soundtrack, but to keep it simple, we will just cover the part he did on the album for now. The only thing that I'm confident about finding is his SoundCloud, with it fitting the same style he went for in the soundtrack, but that's really it. Kind of a letdown. It doesn't help with the research since there seems to be another musician with the same name who plays the same instrument but isn't him, so it makes searching a lot harder for any relevant info. Well, now that's done, we can move on to talking about the people who directed Great Hits and made this fever dream a reality. Now, there's a few directors that I could find being mentioned, with the first being Masahiko Asano. Info on this guy is very scarce to find. Apparently, there's a dev at Square Enix whose name is also Asano, and this caused a lot of my search results to lead back to him. However, this is not the same person as Masahiko, as that Asano produced games like Fullmetal Alchemist 1 and 3 on PS2, and Aikine no Yoru, a horror title on the Wii. From what I could find, Masahiko Asano directed a few games like Owlbird Force and its sequel, Echo Echo Azaraku Wizards of Darkness, a horror text adventure on the PS1, and 2 other Japanese exclusive titles on the same system. The second director is Yoshiaki Masuda. I am not sure if this is the right person or not, but I'm going to take a solid guess and say yes. Yoshiaki is most well known for his roles in Monster Hunter Wilds and Dragon's Dogma 2 as a DCC tools programmer. Besides that, I found nothing else. Finally, the last director I could see in the credits is Yoshiteru Chiba. I legit cannot come across anything about this guy. I have looked both up and down on English and the Japanese side of the internet, and the closest thing I discovered was a man who worked at Square Enix after the game was created, and his name is Hiroki Chiba. I'm pretty positive this is not the same guy, but this is the only name Google wants to show me. Well, now that we covered basically everything I wanted to talk about for info I've gotten from the guidebooks, besides us saving the bands who took part in the PS1 version of Great Hits for later, I feel it's time to finally dive into the actual game part and see what's in store for us.
Sean and Chelsea
The introduction lets us know about the main town we will spend a lot of our journey in, called Noise City. It's the glory place that any and every VC creator strives to visit and make a name for themselves. With what decides who gains notoriety or falls on their face is who can make a great hit, with it introducing the building known as Harmony Major, the most famous place and widely sought after to work for in the whole city. But apparently all of the staff members have contracted food poisoning. This has put the overall morale for everyone who works here to be more down bad than guys who brag about their testosterone levels on Twitter. This means if their VC clippers are gone, who will make the video clips going forth? This is also told to us as a voice in the background apparently sounds like the engine voice from Crash Bandicoot. I also don't know what that is, but I was told to include this joke, so you're welcome. As the song builds up, we're soon met with darkness and a loading screen following not long after. These loading screens have to be some of my favorite designs, like damn do they give off cool Nintendo Power vibes. Altogether, I love the feeling this intro sets for us, the neon light art on display, the expressiveness of the faces and characters even with the simplistic art style. It's really something to just take a gander and get lost in. Now, some hidden lore to talk about regarding this intro. One thing Great Hits never mentions as far as I can see is who the guy is that's exclusive to the book. Even though he has a whole lore section that goes into how he's the reason why Harmony Major is huge, and one of the guys I have, there's this man who appears throughout, known as Fuji-san Goro. His main role is to tell the player how to understand the game's concept while giving advice and tips, with him also being the host of the interview with the music video director from earlier I brought up. They were so dedicated to this guy that they went so far to Photoshop these men together, shaking hands. God, I love this. My favorite tip that he mentions as well is how if you use camera 15 under this character, you can see her underwear. I don't know how in any way, shape, or form this is needed, but hey man, that seems to be some shit Enix would do. So this may be based off a real guy, as it's mentioned he directed a music video. Upon searching the name, I found said creation, but if I even attempt to play it, the video gets blocked worldwide, so I'll put a link to the Daily Motion video of it in the description if you want to see it. Most of the text here goes into more detail about his life and where he graduated, but my main focus is more on the game's lore. Fuji-san decided to move to Tokyo and become a musician for Harmony Major, which makes Noise City a prefecture in Tokyo. He was one of the first to ever use the new VC machines for video production, which is where the book tells us the real-life music video we saw was made with the VC machine. Because of his project being so successful, this is what started his career as a video clipper. It states as of now he's retired and became a special judge for the VCA, but because of him, Harmony Major was able to win their first major award, which is why working here now is such a big deal. However, again, Fuji-san never shows up in the game. Cool, this is all here for those who bought the book. To me, it's interesting to see this is hidden behind optional media to begin with. I feel like it should have been mentioned at some point in the story if he did all these great things, but maybe he was talked about and I never caught it. Or more than likely, this was a cute little way to connect the book to the game with a fun self-insert. But guess we will never know. Once we're finally past the intro, we run into this fellow wearing a blue snapback as he bumps into one of the staff members who's moving around very erratically. Well, this is one of the VC clippers who got sick from eating food. Even though he pleads with the other guy to let him know he's fine, it's obvious his stomach isn't going to let him believe his own words. The guy can already feel his tummy ready to explode, so with that, he leaves to the hospital to help cure his food poisoning. This is where we come in. Now, in the intro, it doesn't really state this all too well, but this is Pop Chips, the guy I showed off earlier in the video. He is here after finding an advertisement in the newspaper about getting a job, which the guidebook has for us to see. It's so cool they went out of their way to make this as nothing of the sort ever appears in game. Luckily, our hero arrived on time as the man in front of us cried out, worried how he's the only one here now and needs to make a VC before the president comes back. Upon talking to him, he assumes we're here to help fix something, completely forgetting about the ad. This is when we let him know that Don Noise called us here with the feeling we could be an amazing future clipper. Not like they have any other choice though at the moment. The snapback guy, realizing why we're here, makes sure we were actually hired by Don Noise as he asks us again, just to start cheering in excitement that someone is here to help him out of this situation. He mentions how he remembers being told about a new guy coming to Harmony Major for his first day on the job, adding on that it was us that Don Noise talked about. Before long, we get another person showing up to the office as it's a beautiful blonde lady that goes by the name Pia. Pia is one of the talents you can acquire in the story, and since we're talking about her now, I feel like we can go over Pia's design plus chickens and Pop Chips as well. Pia's color scheme goes for a yellow and white theming with her pink belt helping her body stand out, or purple if you look at the endgame sprite. which out of all the talents you can pick from, she's probably the most basic. Pia is 19 and apparently the best talent in all of Noise City. She's always seen working with Don Noise whenever he makes a VC, so get used to her as she will be around quite a lot. Chicken, on the other hand, was the guy we saw when we arrived. I feel he has such a nice design compared to his in-game sprite. Chicken's sprite and 2D art also have some differences that I want to cover, like the fact his shirt has a chicken on it while in-game it's just yellow. His necklace is blue compared to the white one we can see here. His hat, while having a white circle on the front, is actually supposed to be this weird face. Some other small details like his pants having belts on the bottom and his headphones having a name written on them, which seems to be a play on Sony as it says So Me. Chicken even has his own 3D model that you can't see in game but does show up on these soundtrack CD art pages. Now this brings me to the strangest thing I noticed as I covered every character, the fact that a lot of designs have differences that don't show up in the game at all. With our main man Pop Chips being a great example of this. After really looking at him, I see why his art and 3D model don't look like his sprite. That's because they are basically wearing almost different outfits entirely. Pop Chips in-game has red goggles, red inside his cat ears, his tie isn't the same color, he also seems to be lacking the circles on his sleeves, plus he's wearing a red shirt and not an orange one like he does in his 2D art. While his 3D model does have goggles and a red shirt, the goggles aren't the same color or design, plus his pants are purple. I have no idea why almost 99% of the designs for the characters in game just aren't consistent. But this occurs so much, it almost seems like it was done intentionally at this point. With that being said, I wanted to also say thanks to Dimpake for helping me export a lot of the in-game sprites. It made comparing them a lot easier. Pop Chips decides to leave because they tell him to come back later as Don Noise wasn't here, but before we can head out, they ask if we can help make the VC instead since we came here to be a clipper anyways. That's when they invite us into the back room and we get our first experience with the main gameplay loop of great hits, the VC creation station. Now for most players, their first time using this will probably be a bit daunting, especially since I doubt you know Japanese. Luckily, I feel Great Hits does a good job at easing you into the mechanics. Plus, the majority of the text here is in English. In fact, a lot of the game has English text just scattered around, so it is a bit easier for someone who knows English to kind of read some things here and there. But for now, let's go ahead and cover each menu really quick. New VC is pretty obvious. It's how you start a Blink project. Retake VC allows you to load in creations you saved and edit them. Check VC gives you the ability to watch back whatever you made as long as it's saved on your memory card. Speaking of, memory card and exit. One grants you the power to check your PS1 memory card and the other lets you leave out the menu. Now when it comes to our first attempt at making a VC, the president and the staff did a lot of the hard part already for us, as you really don't need to worry about the lights or other daunting aspects of movie creation. But since we're here, I can talk about one issue I have already. You see, one thing I noticed right away is how loud the music is when you're making a song. Oh my god. Well, for whatever reason, the game will force reverb whenever you're in here. I'm assuming to help with the idea that you're using a computer, but I didn't know it was reverb. No, originally when I heard this, I just assumed the audio leveling was so fucking bad. It can actually make it pretty ear grating at times to create stuff. It doesn't help when scrolling around and the maker has this play. But thankfully, the first song for the game is not ear grating, known as Cheap Bicycle, and I hope you enjoy this song, as after this, it will play every time you come back to Harmony Major. I am not joking. But being real with you, it's not a terrible track, and for an introduction into the music, I say this was a good choice. Cheap Bicycle was actually made by CMJK, or known as Kitagawa Jun. He's a synth pop artist who has been making music for quite a bit, even having a band called The Cute Man with songs still available on YouTube to listen to right now. As to what he did for Cheap Bicycle and the other stuff he's made, I'm not too sure, as the guidebook only gives info about the artist and what tracks they did, not specifically what their involvement was. CMJK has done other stuff outside the game with these two songs as examples, with one I like and the other is kinda eh. These are called Sarugan Seki's Convenience Store and Yoshikawa Hinano's Heart-Shaped Tears. Overall, I like the feeling Cheap Bicycle brings and one I always will associate with Pia and no one else. So inside the VC Maker, we can see a lot is going on here, and trust me, I probably barely used half of the things we see right now on screen, but you can select everything on the sides, with the options being these in order from left to right. At the very top, we have the red zone meter. If you decide to get a bit crazy, keep in mind the PS1 has limitations. Using too many effects or animations will cause this meter to fill up. If this bar fills up, you will have to remove whatever to make room for new additions. However, this bar will only go up if you add something that isn't already being used. So if for instance you put a specific text on screen, you can now use this as many times as you want freely. Sound icon is next. You can select this to listen to the music you picked at any time, with dance icon following after, and this will give the player a look at the dancer/talent you brought on for your VC. Now, this one is in English, so we can pretty much understand what we're dealing with, as it's the word theme. Clicking this will allow you at any time to have an idea of what the stage's theme for your VC is. Now, I'll be real with you, I forgot that every time you create a music video for the story mode, each one will follow a topic that the player must try to match. I didn't ever do that and made what I wanted, and it would work out in my favor basically every single time, as I never lost any of the mandatory VC sections. Finally, on the left side is this face. I never used it, so the guidebook states it's for switching positions of all materials and makes them displayed as professional icons. Again, I, for half of my playthrough, didn't even know these were selectable. However, upon going to this, you will see a bunch of lines showing up where each material or effect you use starts and ends. This is just overall a way to see what and where things are placed to make it easier to edit and move things around. Now it's time for all these icons right here. As the game goes on, you will unlock new additions to use for your VCs, with each of them being only a cog to the machine that is creating a great hit. So sit down and let's rapid fire through them. The play button lets you play your VC at any point to get an idea of what it would look like if you sold it, as the backgrounds and other effects don't show up in the editor as they would in playback. The marker icon lets you player add music notes to remind you where to put specific effects at, or help remember the cool moments that happen in the song, as when you're editing, you don't hear the song play at all. BG Maker is what gives your VC those epic trippy backgrounds you will learn to love. But they do have a weird limitation, as some will let you rapid fire as many as you want back and forth, while others will only be able to switch between 3 preset ones in a pack for a certain amount of frames. The best example are these that change the whole dancing area, and they last for about 30 frames before being able to change out. But I like that these backgrounds have these limitations, as it requires the player to put more thought into where you put backgrounds at, as you want to make sure it won't interfere with other ideas you may have. Camera Maker follows along, and thanks to the tutorial song teaching us how to add cameras to change the perspective of what the player can see, learning this will be a breeze. With quite a lot of options to pick from, with some being useful while others are pretty whatever. Thank God though, Camera 15 is here. OBJ, or Interior Maker, lets the player add backdrop elements that can bring a stage to life with flowers or gigantic statues. The OBJ icon is something I used a lot of, especially when it comes with these cool floorings that oh my god, I love it, it's so cool. Light Maker, and unlike the light that died long ago in a Planet Dogs player's eyes, you can control and create amazing light shows for your VCs, from spotlights, fast moving ones, to lasers! Anime Sheet Maker is next, or the ABC icon. While having anime in the name, this actually just stands for animations. Now get ready to fill a song with text or cool screen effects, as this tool will be one of the more used ones for adding that extra flair every VC needs. Now we have the Change Maker, which will add fade-ins and outs and other interesting additions to help with your transitions on the VC. Now this one is the Effect Maker that can turn the screen red or create multiple perspectives. The ideas are not endless with this one, but very neat to say the least with what's offered. Talent Maker will allow you to hide your talent from the VC, which can create screens where they don't appear. Select Up is the final one, unless you really want me to explain what the exit button does. This will let the player layer text and other effects to either be on top or behind the selected talent. Overall, I never used this, so don't even worry about it, it's not needed. With that, we are now left with the right side, and the only thing selectable here is this bear. The bear, when you click on him, will do random animations every time, with super rare ones that will appear where he straight up kills himself. No, I'm not joking. It's even featured in the guidebook as a cool little tip. Other than that, the VC Maker, while it's not all that impressive compared to what we have now for video editing softwares or games, The options and freedom you have here is still very neat. You can really control anything you want on whatever you're making, from the fade-ins and outs, to the camera position and rotations, to the background and lights that flash and shine above your dancer. But while you can't change what these preset animations do for any materials, being limited in this way never hurts the impact you can get from how addicting it can be to master to make the best VC and help the talent you selected shine. Plus, with a bear that loves ending his own suffering always cheering me on for everything I do, how could I not be motivated to create? I also enjoy that you're not given all the tools right away and have to buy each of these effects throughout the story, giving you a sense of progression as more options and ideas open up to the player. This choice helps as well from ever making the player feel overwhelmed from the options the VC editor has, since you get drip fed these new tools throughout playing. I really didn't think I would get so enthralled by this at first, till I found myself really trying to perfect every transition, camera change, and the flow of it all to match with the music. And I think having the options be as limiting as they are helps the player really think outside the box and create something fun. It reminds me of all the workarounds the devs had to do for these older systems, with those limitations breathing life to new creations that wouldn't have formed without the restrictions from the hardware. Silent Hill is probably the best example of using the render fog to help build the atmosphere it creates. Plus, I feel great hits clicked with me since I'm already doing what I do in the VC Maker, but instead for my videos if you think about it. Trying to find a flow and match what I'm saying with clips that fit and help bring the point I'm trying to push into the forefront of the discussion, so it's no surprise the gameplay loop ended up feeling very natural to me. But with that being said, having this only be in Japanese does make it a bit harder to pick up and learn the fundamentals. But for those willing to put the effort in, there is an exciting game here to play. Pia helps us learn the basics, and with that we can now see our first creation come to life. Now that the new VC has been formed, thanks to our help, I want to talk about the room specifically, as there's another computer to our right, called the second machine, and booting into this brings up the most Y2K screen I've ever seen, with 4 icons to pick from. With the first one being Enix News. This will feature a screen showing limited time deals and cool events partaking in the game's world, letting you plan around what's going on. Profile is next, and this will give more info on the talent and other clippers and the composers of the songs. It's a cool screen for sure if you want to learn more about said characters who reside here. The third one is How to Clip. Clicking on this will have a girl explain how clipping in the VC machine works. Pretty self-explanatory. If only it could be like Toshiden Kids, where a real-life Japanese lady shows up on my screen to talk to me, making me instantly turn the system off because I play games to escape the reality of talking to anyone. Finally, we have Estimate. If you want to know how well your VC is doing or things being said about you, this is the place to check. Think of it like Reddit, but you're not being bombarded with insults by someone who browses r/piss drinkers. I didn't really use this computer all that much, but it's cool for those who can understand Japanese and take advantage of it. Upon leaving the room, we see another man walk inside and greet us. This is none other than President Don Noise. Now, upon looking at his 2D art and sprite, we can see the colored jacket they were wearing is not the same. Plus, he has necklaces and facial hair the player will never see, since Don will always hold his hand in front of him no matter what. The only real lore dump we get about Don is that him and Pia are the most iconic duo in the whole city, and he's 33 years old, making him the second oldest Great Hits main cast member. One interesting thing you can find in his office is this picture of a real-life man said to be Don Noise. So maybe this guy is originally based off someone on the dev team, as nothing ever gets mentioned who the man in the picture is. Now, I thought we would get more info about Don since he has these speech bubbles in one of the guidebooks. However, he just talks about how well you're doing correlating to what is being shown on the page. But other than that, not much else can be dug up about the president. Pia and Chicken come out to talk with Don Noise to show how the promotional VC was created and ready to be sent out. With him happy to hear the good news, suggests we should go watch the video on the computer, allowing us now to witness our completed product together. We can hear their surprised words talking about how good it came out, with even Don wondering who helped to make something so grand. Just then, all of the staff members return back to work from the hospital as they hear us talking about the VC being finished. They then question Chicken about who helped them if they all were suffering in the emergency room. Don Noise soon realizes that the staff members didn't have any involvement with finishing the product, meaning Chicken lied about how it was finished. This forces Chicken to explain they all contracted food poisoning and it was me, the newcomer, who helped with the amazing camera work. Don is shocked how someone who he's never seen could help produce something that amazing. He questions both Pia and Chicken about my name, just for them to realize they never did ask me. Don Noise decides if we were able to do such a great job and came all this way to work for him, then it's worth seeing if we want to be signed on as a part-time worker. We say yes, and this finally ends the tutorial section of the game. Upon beating a stage, this event called the Best 1.0 will happen. Each time, these two bunny creatures come on screen to talk about the monthly news for Noise Town and announce the bestsellers VC for said month. And every time they start the show, expect to see this joke where the pink bunny will ask the other if he's looking forward to the broadcast for today. Every single time. And besides them announcing the winner at the end of each stage, they also do this running gag every time they leave where the pink bunny's head will fall off every time. I enjoy it though when you win and your face will be shown on screen followed by your talent coming on to talk about the VC's creation, making them feel more alive as each of the talents will have a unique text upon winning. Overall though, trying to translate this part was so difficult because of the flashing lights. So a lot of the translations I got for these moments are completely useless. After winning like a champ, we're back with Don Noise in his office as he tells us we have a talent even if all we did was edit the cameras. He still wants us to be a part-time worker for him and make sure we understand going forward. This is where things will start getting real. Since he can't trust us to do everything yet, he will use this time to make sure we're trained in the art of clipping. For his first request, he wants us to go out and find a new talent and sign a contract to work with them for this month's VC. With him requesting us to find the talent Radio Mix and use them to form another great hit, letting us know as well they can usually be found around downtown and Vegas town. So I guess we'll make our way over there now. I like if you go around and start talking with the staff members, they will inform you about things that are happening at the very moment, with him going on about how he's sorry for being out sick. It's a neat way to show the NPCs are more than just a text dump of random phrases, as they will react and feel like they're living in what you're going through. Upon stepping out of Harmony Major, we're hit with the town square and the multitude of buildings around us. These will usually consist of other Clipper labels and their talents hanging around inside. If you're lucky, the talents there will sign a contract with you for future use on your own VCs, with the order of buildings being Harmony Major label, Pizzicato Pops, Pre-Mel Mode, Condensed House Company, and Scallop Tracks. Apparently the way to get the other talents to sign a contract with you is random, as sometimes you can talk with one of them and they won't let you sign a contract, while other times they just will. I have no idea what triggers this, but I had R7 tell me he got one of the talents I'll cover later early in the journey, while it took me quite a while to unlock them. Besides these buildings, there's some paths that will take us to other locations, but we will focus on the one straight ahead for now. Getting to walk around and seeing all the English text everywhere with the faces of women on the billboards, it really gives me Digimon vibes and how they designed the digital world, as everything here feels like what 90s kids describe the internet. Once you understand though that Wiz and Kenji worked on this, it started to make sense why this feeling comes off strong, but I remember saying this was the vibe I got even before I knew Kenji had any part in this. Also, can we talk about this sweet door animation? I don't know what it is about me, but I really love door animations in games. I think my favorite still to this day is the way Deku Link opens a door. However, this game I think has the most unique one I've ever seen, as you watch the camera turn to the back of the house to then fall on the player. God, it's so full of charm, I love it, man. Walking straight ahead will lead us to the path of Vegas Town, and man, is this music funky. The music here gives me vibes of those YouTube videos that would play Saint Pepsi to old soda commercials. Vaporwave ah sounding track. One thing that really blew me away was just how much lighting is here on these sprites. Getting to see the neon pulse and flash on the 2D textures is just something you don't get to see a lot of. Granted, this is technically 3D, so maybe with some PS1 sorcery, this is how they can create the lighting we see. But man, I can't deny how impressive this is regardless of the area's dimensions. Now, only 3 houses are of note here, with the first one being the Boomer House, where inside the guidebook says boomers will gather here and talk about the latest trends going on in Noise City. Next up is Big Band, with it being a shopping place to buy stuff. Finally is the Beginner's House, and if you still needed a learner's course on VC creation, this is another spot the player can visit for more info. Now, there's 2 paths you can take, one leading to downtown Vegas Town, and the other one leading to the side area with a few buildings here to check out. First one is the Hotel Paradise owner's house. Inside you can talk with some NPCs and even buy exclusive materials only sold here. White Pearl is the second building, with the guidebook stating how the owner has been traveling for a long time and hasn't returned. Finally, we have the last building, and inside we can buy Color Up and Select Up for VC creations. Now, the area does have some neat things to see, but you can avoid this side spot if you really wanted to. Now, if you're done with exploring this back part, the real meat and potatoes is just up ahead. Once you walk through, you get to see the main hangout spot of Vegas Town, with a lot of these buildings being shops to buy backgrounds, lights, and to see bunny girls, something Enix loves doing for their games. Upon entering, you will see a bunch of flags appear everywhere as a crowd of people are gathered around a TV with a person next to it advertising. Occasionally, if you talk with them, you will see they're selling a rival VC clip. There's 11 of them to find, and unless you buy them when they're being sold, You will not be able to get them again upon the chapter being completed. I, however, will be uploading all rival VCs on my archive channel for people to watch if you are curious to see them, but I think they're such a cool novelty, and since the devs made them in-game, it's really helpful to see what you can do with the in-game creator. However, we have another song featured by an artist, this time being Sakurai Koji, the same guy we mentioned before from the Great Hits OST soundtrack. He was in charge of composing the VC song for Pia, titled in English, Far Away. Just something I wanted to mention, but since we already went over him, I won't add much else unless we come across another song he created, and then I'll talk about him there. Up ahead is the main building we want to head into, as Radio Mix is hosting a concert for the hotel. So Radio Mix is a 3-man team that really hits the Nightmare Before Christmas look, with it consisting of a bunch of kids, with the oldest being 15 and the youngest 12. They do have names, but I don't recall the game ever calling them by their first names, which are Roxio, Viola, and Pomposa. Only thing to note is that they're known for their dancing. Singing for sure, I think this is probably the worst singers you can choose in the game. As for their sprite to 2D art, Broxio has this cloth part that comes out from the star on his shoulder that isn't seen in the 2D art or 3D model. Viola has different colored earrings, but overall pretty close to what's shown, with Pomposa being spot on, as I couldn't notice anything being different. Their 3D models, however, are exact to their art besides Viola having yellow earrings, but that's really it. These feel closer to what was shown both in-game and 3D, unlike pop chips. After speaking with them and asking if they can be a part of our next VC, they give us crap about being a rookie at first, but lets us know it's thanks to the backing of Don Noise, plus the talent we showed in our last VC, they agree to help us. So we head back to Harmony Major to do the next steps. Don Noise will now give us the needed materials to help us come acquainted with the new tools for the VC Maker. This time, instead of just camera work, we are now responsible for setting up the lights and backgrounds, with the goal for us being to make it flow with the new composition that Chicken has created for us, which apparently his song must have been so bad because after finishing it, he passed out hard. This track is called Pantaloon Blues, and sadly, I have no info regarding who made this one exactly, since the guidebook, while listing everyone who did music for it, doesn't necessarily tell me all the songs they made. So this one will sadly be a mystery for now unless I figure out who did it later on. We're tasked this time around to add lights and backgrounds to help make our VC shine, which don't worry, I know it sounds probably daunting, but it's pretty simple and you can finish this in no time, so let's wrap it up and make something beautiful. After putting everything together and making the VC for this stage, we can see that everyone of course congratulates us on how amazing our creation is, as even a dealer from Vegas Town has come with Don Noise to seek our work and buy it if it's good enough. As he said, he heard about a rookie who created VCs of miracles. After witnessing our VC, he tells Don that the music video is amazing, and this makes the president proud to finally call us one of his new employees. The dealer offers to buy our VC and have it played in Vegas Town next month if we accept. Since we need all the exposure we can get, we say yes, and that's the end of Stage 2. We go through another Best 1.0 with the bunnies from before as Radio Mix talks with them about working as our talent. But nothing of note, so time to move on to Stage 3. We're now chilling in Chicken's room as he tells us how he's making a new song right now for our next VC. He lets us know it's not ready yet since Don told him that the song needed some changes before being finalized, so because of that, we have some time to kill before he can complete it. Before we head out, Chicken lets us know that Don requested this time around we go and see what talent we can get to sign up with us. Now, we can use Radio Mix again since they're registered in our list if we want, but Chicken makes sure to push to us that we should probably explore these surrounding areas to see if anyone else is wanting to be in a VC. We are now informed about the most important shops in the whole game, the talent agencies. Why is Bang Bros on my screen? Edit that out, we don't need that. Why is Bang Bros on my screen? These places are used to buy a dancer from a list to have them be on your contract for the stage, with it either being pricey or free depending on who you pick. If you end up meeting any new talents and they sign a contract with you, you can find them here at these shops. Once you select one and pay the fee, you now have access to them for your new VC creation. With that, you want to get familiar with these locations for each shop because, as I said before, to make any progress, you will need to come here at least once every stage. Or you can just keep going back to the same one I did. I mean, the game never tells you can't. Don Noise lets us know for now, going forth, we will be tasked to create all VCs, as he knows we can do it. adding that this time around, no one will be giving us hints or tips. It's now all down to our skills and how we implement them. Dawn asks that we go to the receptionist and borrow some money for tools and materials since we can't use anyone else's. The president is doing us a solid as he knows we will put that money to good use, so doesn't mind at least helping us get our feet wet. We even get a bonus from the president as he offers us a new addition to our VC tools for free. It's the marker icon, allowing us to put a marker on the top of the bar to help us match elements with the music easier. Get ready to use this one a lot because I'm telling you right now, this is such a lifesaver when it comes to editing any music videos in this game. It's time to head on to the next location we can explore called Toka Town. The interesting gimmick about this location is that it's two maps combined into one area, with one side having a Chinese theming throughout, with the other one going for a Japanese approach to everything. You can even see this aesthetic with the two talents for this area, with the first one being Tsukiken Naruko, representing the Mount Fuji part. She's 17 and dresses like a shrine maiden. And the other one is Yunro from Kowloon, with her having a Chinese dress on, and she's also 17, and they both have similar body types. Okay, genuinely, I just realized how similar they look. I thought maybe they were like twin sisters, but no, nothing ever states that. They just look identical besides their hairstyle. I even checked the guidebook to see if there was any correlation, you know, to like a family or whatever. No, they just look similar for no reason. Now, before you bring it up, no, they're not the same girl pretending to be both characters, since there's a moment in the story where they're in the same room with each other. But I'm also open to the idea that I'm just very slow because it really took this long to see how close they are for me, so I don't know, man. I think the Great Hits video is giving my fucking brain a lobotomy. Well, going into the designs for both talents, starting with Tsukiken. For her 2D art, she has a very, transparent dress compared to her oh, okay. So the top she wears is a whole other layer, so she straight up just has her tits out right now if you dump the sprites. Surprisingly, no nipples, since it just seemed like some weird pervert shit Enix would do, but yeah, I don't know, I think it could have just been on her from the start, but what do I know? Overall, she's pretty spot on with her designs, besides her hair being a bit darker than her 2D art. As for the 3D models, these are basically one-to-one. I couldn't find any real change unless you want me to count the Shrine Maiden's dress not being transparent, but that's all I could find. Now looking at Yunro here, she also is basically one-to-one to her sprite and 2D art and also the 3D model. So not really much else to really talk about that's different. I don't know why these two got the special treatment where they're basically spot on, but now a really cool gimmick about the town's talents is that they have a special interaction that no place does. As long as you sell specifically to their town that they're in, they will end up paying you more for your VC. And when you sell to them 10 times, you'll actually get 100% of the profit instead of 10%. I personally just sold to Vegas Town the whole time since that's what the walkthrough I used told me to do. And it was usually the closest shop near me, so. Now upon arriving, you will speak with Tsukiken if you head to Mount Fuji first, as we get to see her perform in front of everyone. This is when her exclusive VC plays for us to witness, and we get to hear a new song called 7th. Now again, I have no info on who made this, and it sucks because this is one of my top 5 favorite songs in the whole game. Genuinely sounds really good. Upon talking with her after the VC, this is when she will learn about your Clipper status and offers you a contract deal, with the only requirement being that you don't sell or make a new contract with the Kowloon area. I accepted her offer, but again, I never sold to either town, so didn't get the payout bonus from this contract. Heading to the Kowloon area has the same thing occur, where you see the camera spin around Yunro as she prepares to perform for the audience. She does the same song we just heard with a different visual theme, so not much to really go into detail about that. Well, since there's not much else to do here and we got our talent signed, let's head to the next available area known as Dust Town. As someone who recently visited the North for the first time, I can say right now, if you told me this was inspired by it, I would believe you. Dust Town has buildings made out of garbage and broken down cars, with the textures of the houses being literal humans taking a picture. This is for sure one of the darker and dingier areas you will find in the whole game, with barely any neon lights or flashing anything, unless you count the very out of place TVs that litter the area. Now you may be wondering why we would have picked to come to some broken rundown town, and it's because there's a talent here known by the name Hollow Bodies, with us wanting them specifically because they're free to hire for any VC, so I hope you love seeing these guys for a majority of the game. Upon locating them, we see that Hollow Bodies isn't just one person, but a duo that I talked about earlier with this girl and zombie guy who can rotate his head 360 degrees. I personally have grown a fondness for these two interesting talents, mostly because the majority of my footage features them since money is very important if you want to do everything in the game. So having a free option for a VC helps out a lot. We have some differences again like before when it comes to the sprites and 2D art. Now while Pan here at first looks close to her art, with her shirt having a unique design, her shoes aren't full white on top like they are in the guidebook, plus the earrings aren't the same, with her biggest noticeable design trait being the red and yellow hair. On her 3D model and sprite, she has a part that is fully dyed red, while in her 2D art, it's only the tips. As for Elegy, his shirt is some kind of face instead of a ghost. His hair is more purplish while the 2D art has it red. He doesn't have a bone under his eye, and he only has one bracelet and it's green. This and the glove on his right hand are never seen anywhere else but this sprite. The belts aren't the same, and his most notable trait being his guitar is different. They use completely different types of guitars, with his in-game one being blue with a different style aesthetically. As for their 3D models, it follows closely to their 2D art for Pan, even has the right logo on the shirt, just the wrong color. She also has red hair on her head, with it not just being the tips. Now it's kind of hard to notice, but she wears a watch on her wrist. This is something as well that appears on the 3D model. That being said, it's a different design and on the opposite arm, with the 3D one having a red wristband where the watch would be at for the guidebook artwork. Now going over Elegy's model, he has a ghost on his shirt this time, but a different design again. But hey, the bone under his eye is there. The guitar also matches the one on his sprite, but he did lose the glove that was on his right hand, plus the green bracelet is now just black, with his left hand now having a blue and yellow ring band. Now this was all the differences I could find, but holy shit dude, who was in charge of keeping these designs consistent? As for their VC, it's another good song that reminds me of SATOU style rock music, with this track being called Dreams. Now here's a little story oversight. So the song Dreams is actually obtainable on stage 6 as Chicken makes it for you, which somehow they already have a version of it even though it's not made yet. I'm guessing the devs never caught this as the story never explains it either, so I'm pretty sure it's just a big oversight. Now for the real life composer of the song, it's none other than ISIGURO KOICHI. Now for him and things he worked on, I was only able to really locate two things. One being his work on Eiko's first album, Kittenish Love. Now I know he did 4 songs only for this, and while I can't find exact evidence that shows which ones he helped with, I do believe I'm positive, however, on what 4 he is credited on. If you look up the album, you will see another name on 4 songs appear, named Pierre. Only 4 songs are credited by Pierre out of an album with 8 total. So while I can't 100% find concrete proof, I believe these 4 are by ISIGURO. Because why else would Pierre's name show up on the other 4 tracks, but not these 4? Finally, his other note of worth is making the opening music for TB Tokyo's Diamond Soccer. Now, I don't know when he did the fanfare, so I'm assuming it's this one here, but there's no real way for me to find out because there's barely any videos whatsoever I could even locate for this, since soccer and Tokyo are quite broad search terms to find anything on. Even adding a year next to it barely narrows it down. Now going back to the song Dreams, good on him for whatever he did because it's a good damn song. Upon talking with the Biggle Gang group, they offered to sign a contract with us as we can now use them for the majority of the missions. Now because I have time to kill and money is very important, this is when I started to money grind. Because we want to buy rival VCs, and to buy any of them you need 1000 G each, and we need to get a lot of materials and items for our creations. So because of that, you can see how the price for all this stuff adds up really fast. Now, if there's other ways to grind faster, I didn't know, nor did the guide I used tell me. But the way you can grind free money is by making hobby VCs. These will be treated as not important, so they will never advance the plot, but can be sold to dealers. If you decide to do this, more than likely all you can get right now is 250G, or at best, 450G. Now, letting you know right now, grinding with this method is super slow, but it's the best option if you don't want to struggle with needing materials or missing out on certain items. As again, once a rival VC is gone from advancing the chapter, you can't get it back. Luckily for us, once you spend the time making one good hobby VC, all you need to do to remake it and sell it is to clone it to the memory card Add a single marker, walk to a dealer, sell, and then walk back to get your money. However, the load times and the fact you are forced to have your VC load up and skip it to then sell it each time makes this a long and boring process. However, who cares? We're rich. Now, since we have a lot of money from grinding, I can buy 2 rival VCs in this chapter, with the first one being in Dust Town, with it featuring this fine Castlevania character playing the guitar for us all to the song called Apocalypse. This hit comes from a man known by the name of SATOU YOSHIYA, who formed the band Zulu back in 1991, and the only trace I could find of him is from Apple Music, with their first album being in 1994, and 2 other albums that came out in 2010. It mentioned that he later formed a band called High Tech Cinema, where he played the acoustic guitar. However, finding any info on this endeavor for his career was just impossible for me. I did come across what I presume to believe is his SoundCloud, which does have an album on it called And I Haven't Died Yet. This features similar singing and acoustic sound style he's known for. Sadly, none of these songs are easy to come by on YouTube, but if the YouTube copyright system doesn't screw me, the full albums for his Zulu work and this will be up in the Great Hits song playlist. As for the talent in the VC, his name is Castrat, and I love this character a lot. He's so edgy and sophisticated. Now, I think I could easily quote a friend on this one to describe how I feel about this character. He looks like someone you would travel with around Japan to Pokemon Center showcasing cool travel vlogs of the areas, plus finding a real-life Pokemon rival along the way, just for you to kiss a bro after all is said and done. Now, did I only include this to shout out my friend's videos? Yeah. Just like before, he has design changes throughout his sprites, 2D art, and model, with his artwork and sprite being pretty similar. However, his bat on his forehead is much darker, as we can see in the guidebook. Compare that to his 3D model and his overworld sprite. Plus, the belt buckles he has around his neck are silver, while every other rendition has them gold. Now, it's hard to tell on his model, but it and the guidebook art features a zipper design that is absent on the sprite art. But with that being said, that's really all the changes I could find. He's pretty close to being consistent. Another small tangent, but it's funny, in the Ultimate Guidebook, it doesn't have the art for Castrat or the other talent I'll be talking about soon. Luckily for me, the other one did that I bought, and it does feature both art and cool renders for said talents. I just think it's weird, however, they just don't have their art included in the considered Ultimate Guidebook, but oh well. It's time for other rival VCs we can buy, with this one having the mushroom girl named Joey. She is, in my opinion, the most recognizable one from the list of talents. Plus, more often than not, she's usually everyone's favorite that see her. Her mushroom hat really helps her stand out compared to everyone else. Now to go into more detail about her, she's 16 and apparently is Noise City's Lolita idol. Now I know that word sounds pretty close to a no-no subculture of anime, but Lolita is actually a fashion style known in Japan. Known for its frilly dresses, bows, and ribbons, and it's supposed to express cuteness and elegance. A lot of Lolita fashion also tries to go for an A-line silhouette, where if you made them into a shadow, the letter A would be visible from how their silhouette would appear. Josie is a great example of this, with her mushroom hat helping push the tall flat part of the letter A to then have it lead down to her dress and platform boots. Legit, I feel this is probably one of the best interpretations of this fashion I've seen in gaming, at least with the 10 minutes of research I just did right now to back up my experience with said fashion. For differences, she's pretty much spot on 1-to-1, besides she has pink on the bottom of her shoes. In the sprite, however, they're plain white. As for the song in her VC, it's titled Pa Pa Pa, with it being our first look at an in-game track made by Sakurai Koji. Now, I won't go back into detail on him since we did earlier, but just noting this track is from him. After we have bought the rival VC, it's time to sign the contract with Hollow Bodies from the talent shop and create our VC for stage 3. Heading into Chicken's room to pick up our song, we see he's missing, but on the floor is a videotape. On the tape is the track called Liquid Stone. So we create the VC with our newly acquired composition and sell it over to a dealer at Vegas Town. But upon walking out, we get a text box on screen. Turns out, the song we used from Chicken wasn't finished, meaning we just released a unfinished track to the world. Back at Harmony Major, everyone is losing their minds, as the president greets us upon walking into the office. He's trying to figure out how to fix the situation, as this will really put a damper on the company's image. This is when Pia decides to suggest that we could find an arranger and have them remix the song for us and redo the VC and sell it to the talent agencies, as all of these arrangers are talented enough to remake any song that we can find. Now I can finally talk about the arrangers. Throughout the game, whenever you get a new song from Chicken, you can instead buy one of these remix copies from these NPCs around town. Keep in mind, the arrangers will only remix one song and are stuck to only doing a select track. These remixes can sometimes be better than the original or a huge miss. Now, I hope you did the money grinding like I said before, since the rival VCs and these guys will all cost money to obtain. Don, Noise, and Pia head off to search for an arranger in Vegas Town, while we go to Dust Town. We enter the Noise Gate house, and inside is where we can find the one and only arranger for our single Liquid Stone. Upon talking to him, he remixes the song for us, and we can now make the VC that we wanted with the new rendition of the track. This now brings me to who made Liquid Stone in real life. Well, it's none other than Miyako. So I had to change this part of the script because I was actually wrong on the Miyako I thought it was. Well, I originally assumed it was Miyako from Love Bites because I trusted Google on telling me that Miyako and the Miyako in the picture both played piano at 3 years old. However, I let one oversight slip that would have saved me a lot of time, and I wouldn't have had to redo this if I would have just checked. So Miyako from Love Bites would have been 11 years old at the time of recording for this game. So it's safe to say that's not her. But now brings me to another issue. I don't know who this Miyako is. The closest I found in the book, it tells me she was a chorus singer for the band T.U.T.U, which means maybe one of these ladies that appear in their concerts could be her, but I can't verify at all. Even with the other info in the guidebook, like her being part of an all-female metal group, the only thing I could find similar to the name Elegant Punk is this band that isn't all females, and they made nothing after 1993, and even then, all their songs seem to be lost media, which means that was a bust. I even tried researching more into her time at Soitzer Music, and again, nothing. Then I went ahead and started going into more about her first band she formed called Brock when she was just a high school student, which I came back empty-handed, and I'm not even surprised about that, to be real with you. Now, after doing all that research, the only info I can work with is what the guidebook says, and I can't even really verify what it's even telling me in the first place. I have no idea who this Miyako is. Even when I reversed image searched the picture of her, I find nothing. Now let's at least verify one thing that I can for sure tell you Miyako did. Well, looking back at the company Soitzer Music, they're credited with working on Great Hits and its soundtrack CD. This seems to be a company that has been known to compose music for a lot of PS1 and PS2 games, from hits like the third Jumping Flash title to Dual Hearts. The reason why I bring them up is because, as stated before, they helped with the soundtrack CD, where we can see Miyako is credited on just about every song for the CD. More than likely, Miyako is responsible for some games' music on this list, not just including Great Hits. But like I said, finding much info on her is super hard, especially without a last name. So this is about all I could really dig up. Now that we have fixed our mistake, we can remake the VC and ship it back to our dealers in Vegas Town. With hollow bodies on our side, we will for sure make the best VC there is around. We inform the president and Pia that we located the arranger and can now save the day. This is when we can see the relief fill their 2D faces, as it's now up to us to show why Harmony Major is the best in Noise City. After we send off the VC and notice Chicken has returned, everyone decides to confront him, and this part pisses me off. Because somehow Chicken is to blame for all of this, even though we went into his office and decided to use the unfinished song without his permission, and he has to apologize to us for whatever reason. You even get the option to tell him you don't forgive him, and this will affect your ending. But with that, we have now finished Chapter 3, and we can view the best 1.0. Obviously, we win and move on to Stage 4. We are now outside as Chicken is running around really fast. He tells us he's worried about how well the VC we submitted is doing, with him wanting us to go check and see the results since he's too scared to check on his own. So we head out to Vegas Town, and upon checking in with the TV, we get told it was a mega hit, meaning we are doing well so far. Upon coming back to Chicken, he learns about how well the VC is doing from us, and we can see he is excited and happy to see our hard work pay off after the mistake that happened. Chicken vows to us that his next song will really be his best work and will help us have the #1 VC for this month. Once we're back at the home base, Chicken informs us we need to go talk with the president as he wants to share something with us. So we had to see him and learn Don wants to show us a new VC he's been working on called You Make Me Smile. This is another one by SATOU YOSHIYA, who also did the previous track we mentioned before, Pa Pa Pa. This one is good and I really like it, and I even think Pia's voice bank works really well with these slower paced compositions. Combining these two together, I would say this is probably one of my top 5 favorite songs in the whole game. After witnessing the creation he made, Don Noise mentions to us about the end of the year VC Awards, where all the corporations come together to duke it out on who is the best creator in all of Noise City. With him forgetting he never told us about it before. He says how only people who get nominated for it are allowed to enter, with there being multiple ways to be nominated for a few categories. Don Noise tells us that to even be considered for the award, you need about 13,500 fans total, with smash hits giving the player 2,000 each time, so if we sell 7 smash hit VCs, we can partake in the award. So that means we have a few months to gain the fans we need to enter and win. Me, who's an amazing clipper, will for sure reach all the requirements and finish the game with flying colors. At this point in the story, I decided to make a quick VC, as there's a mini award show going on in Dust Town, plus some more rival VCs we can buy, with this one being a new talent altogether, as the song is called It's Okay. I have no info on who made this sadly, but let's talk about the new talent Bebop. For his sprite compared to his 2D art, it's pretty close besides him only having one necklace and the colors of it not matching any of the 3 he wears in the guidebook. His shoes are also not the right color or design, no tattoos, and his fabric around his waist is a different color and pattern altogether. And he's missing the lip piercing, but that's really it for his sprite comparisons. However, his 3D model has him bald, with only the hair on top showing, and the hair is now brown instead of black. He does have the sun and 3 necklaces on, but the colors don't match up again, and the sun now has orange lines on it. His shoes also aren't the right color, but at least the design is the same. Other than that, that was really all the changes I could find. For Bebop, I fuck with him, man, and I love how energetic he looks in his VCs. It's why I even used him for that little intro scene at the start of the video. After looking around trying to find the mini VC awards, we stumble upon a house full of furries. They are upset we didn't enter with a costume on, implying if we had a pumpkin on our head, we would look way better. After being fooled by the pumpkin scarecrow outside, we're actually supposed to talk to this girl who will then give us one to wear. Now that we have the pumpkin on our head, we can submit our VC to the 2 judges and get prizes based on whatever rank our VC gets. The prizes are worth going for if you want exclusive materials, and even the 2 songs only gotten through getting the highest ranking possible as a reward. You can also even see an exclusive VC from Pia here where she dances at a sunset beach to a Halloween themed background. The song featured in this VC is called Nita. I have no info on who made it, but it's probably one of the nicer VCs you can see in the game. Upon entering the contest, I won a few backgrounds and materials for my feature creations, but sadly no song, probably because they wanted a Halloween themed VC and I didn't give them anything close to that. We then head over to Vegas Town as they're also hosting another mini VC awards. I got a mega hit this time and a new song called Madonna 80. It's honestly a shame these aren't used in the VC for story moments, or even just for the rival clips if anything, since sometimes they will just reuse previous songs from before. This would have been a really nice way to give these missable songs a bigger highlight, but it's cool that you can still unlock them and use them for hobby VCs if you really want. Well, I decided to finally stop by one of the newest cities unlocked called Stomp Town. This is an area that has its own train station and fits the vibes of industrialism. If you explore around, you can find a couple of shops, another arranger here, a rival VC, this area's talent, plus other cool things any thriving master clipper could want. Upon entering the downtown section, we run into this beautiful muscle man named Woodblock. Now, a cool feature exclusive to him is that whenever you use him and have a good clipper rating, his contract fee will reduce down to 20%, and this can be done twice for a total of 40%. As long as the rating stays in good standing, you will get discounts. Now, comparing the designs as we do whenever we find a new talent, Woodblock straight up has a lot of differences, from the fact his outfits he wears aren't the same, from the bracelets being red and yellow, his hat has a white metal part instead of the yellow we can see here, he also has red eyes and no earrings for his sprite, and then going to his 3D model, his body hair is brown and his outfit is straight up black. There's no purple at all besides his shirt. His hat matches more of the sprite, but then his rings are silver and not gold. For the most part, he seems to take aspects from both the sprite and 2D art, but still really doesn't match either. But I like Woodblock, he's cool, and the whole time this man is flexing for his dance moves. What more could you want from him? Now let's make our way to the TV to meet another new talent, with this one being a long arm goth girl. Here we have the song Scotty Pizza, and the new talent Belle Lyra. Now for the song, I have no idea who made it, so let's go ahead and just move on to comparing Lyra's designs. The biggest difference right away from her model and art is that her 2D sprite has a purple look and not at all the black she's known for both her model and the guidebook. Everything else is actually pretty spot on besides her not having rings on her sprite. It just seems like her sprite got a color swap and that was about it. The only thing with her model that I want to point out that's unique is the fact that she uses a broom that is never seen anywhere else in the game. Now I like her design a lot, but man, this song that you see her in fucking sucks. Like, I don't even know, dude. It sounds like a jokes track they would pick for a boss in Undertale. Finally done with Stomp Town, we can visit the one and only Chill Town. This is themed after a Christmas wonderland with snow and lights sprawled across the area. You can walk around and find areas full of shops, a church as well, plus a bar nearby you can visit. My favorite part of Chill Town is the section near the water with a lighthouse. I again love places surrounded by water, and it's rare you see snowy areas next to open oceans that actually have people living there. Sadly, the people that live here are racist. Get away from me, you're inferior. Okay, come on, get out of the way. Okay. Okay, sorry. Now I know I spoiled it before, but this place is home to the talent Chop, the Santa guy from earlier. Now when I saw him, I just assumed this was a random NPC you could run into, as I wasn't familiar with it being a talent you can recruit, so to my surprise, when some Santa lookalike wanted me to sign up with them, you know I was happy. Chop, however, has a special aspect about him. If you use Chop while you're not famous, the price for him will be cheaper, as he believes in making VCs for the everyday person. As you grow up in the ranks, his cost will be a lot more. Also, I know it says he's 100 years old, but apparently that's probably a lie. And that's because Chop isn't actually the real Santa, but someone who dresses up as him. Also, not sure what it is about the PS1 games always finding some way to shoehorn in Santa, but if I had a nickel for every time this has happened, okay, I'll stop making this joke. The show ended years ago, I get it, whatever. Oh, wait a second, a reboot's happening? If I had a nickel for every... Now for Chop's design in the guidebook, he seems to be a different shade of red, but this could be more of a color choice for the book itself over anything else. He does, however, have gloves that he lacks in his 2D sprite. His instrument we can see here that he holds in his hands is red and yellow, but just yellow here. Now for Chop's 3D model, he doesn't have the gloves but shares the same color scheme with everything else in the 2D art. With that being said, he's pretty consistent overall. Now back to Chicken's office, we see he has created our next hit for a VC. The title of this track is called Do That But Q, which I do have info about this one. This track was made by Suzuki Suguru. I was able to learn that he studied abroad at Berklee College of Music in Boston, so to really make sure I could understand this man and where he came from, I booked a trip to Boston and flew to locate the school. Upon landing, I met some guy named John and ended up inside of an Airbnb and met my friends I knew since the Wii U was out, forgetting what my mission even was. But that's for another video that will probably come out later. Now, he's arranged 2 songs for the album Junction, being these 2 tracks. Bibi-chan Kumo ni Noru and Sane. He was also responsible for the Cebu Lions cheer song, Roar Lions. For those anime nerds out there, he also did the OST for Twin Signal Laserdisc and the opening song for the TV Tokyo anime, Jungle King Tarchan. Also, real quick, I want to shout out this channel who's been uploading Konana saying good job every day. Somehow, while searching this guy, it led me to his channel, and I just wanted to reward his dedication since I'm pretty sure nobody else is going to.
Good job!
We head to Don Noise's office after getting the VC from Chicken, and he talks with us how if we keep going at this rate, we will for sure be competing with him at the awards in no time, even making a joke about Pia switching sides. This upsets Pia as she responds how she's been with him for 8 years, so she wouldn't switch now, with Pia telling me how our VCs aren't even close to the president and comparing them would be like a child trying to say his skills match the same as an adult. We can clearly see this gets Pia heated as she leaves to get some water. Don realizing he messed up, but tells us if we really want to show our worth, we need to beat him and Pia at the awards. Don then requests us to follow him so we can talk about the topics for today's VC we need to create. He informs us that the interior and animation makers will be a big part for this VC, as he wants to make sure we don't mess up like we did last time and ruin the name of the company. Back in the composer room, Chicken finally finishes the song as we can listen to it now. It's fine. Thankfully, we can go to Toko Town and ask the arranger to remix it for the VC. We now create our winning clip, give it to the dealer in Vegas Town, and head back to talk with Don Noise and Pia. When we arrive, we see that they both seem calmer now with their disagreement being settled. This is when Don asks us where we sold the VC to, and we lie since the options he gave me weren't Vegas Town, so I couldn't really say the truth if I wanted to. Don finishes our conversation by saying that if we win or lose, there won't be any grudges held. So now all we can do is wait for the next airing of Best Hits 1.0. No surprise, we won. Cutting back to Harmony Major, we see Pia and Chicken talking to each other about if I'm awake or not, as they know I've been up all day and night creating, so they had to check in on me. This is when they come across my dead body laid out on the floor. They inform Pop Chips Don is waiting for all of the staff to come to his office to talk about the future deal they're trying to set up. Upon going into his office, this is when he shows us the next VC he wants to talk about. We get greeted with the glorious creation of Bebop Rivals VC, but something is off. As a keen eye could realize, this isn't the same exact copy as his rival one we bought. Turns out, Someone made a fake and is trying to pass it off as a real one. This means this VC is an illegal copy. Now this is where the main story starts to come together, as we actually have a somewhat plot we will begin to follow. Don informs us that someone is out there stealing VCs and selling them on the streets, meaning whoever is doing this will try getting other people's creations if not stopped. This is sadly the biggest crime anyone could ever commit, as the VCs are what funds not only the town but Noise City's government, as everyone works super hard to create these special videos with their soul and heart shining every frame. To cut corners and steal someone else's work is unforgivable, especially in this city. If anyone is ever caught doing this, especially so incredible, they will have everything stripped away and your company is gone for good. After making sure we're now all aware about someone out there selling fake VCs, Don Noise now offers us the effects maker to help with our newest creation, with Chicken heading off to make the new song as we do our own thing by going to buy the next rival VC in Chilltown. It's another song from Pia called You Make Me Smile, which for those who remember, this was the VC Don Noise showed us that wasn't finished a few stages back, which I stand by. This is probably aesthetically one of my favorite works for Pia. But back to the main issue at hand. Finding out who made the illegal copy, after I go on an all-out shopping spree. Upon meeting Chicken, he wants to show us his new song he created, titled Black Wonder Chan, another one created by CMJK, who we covered before with his first song titled Cheap Bicycle. So we do what we normally do when Chicken gives us a song, but upon leaving Harmony Major and selling our video in Vegas Town, this strange man runs up to us. Thinking nothing of it, we sell our VC as usual, but wait, this isn't our VC! The dealer realizes that this is the stolen copy everyone is talking about. He runs off to get the police as we're now getting arrested for selling contraband goods, with it fading to black as we wake up in a jail cell? Thankfully, Chicken is here to break us out. With us now experiencing the hard life of a criminal for 5 seconds, we hide in the dressing room as Chicken gives us the rundown. He mentions the illegal copy is the cause of all of this, and we get to watch it again for whatever reason. Chicken starts to go on about how he was able to get information about the black market hidden away, where they sell illegal copies of VCs all the time. Unsure if it's true, he suggests we should go investigate ourselves. He lets us know that he would go, but he needs to head back to work to not raise suspicion. So I guess it's up to Pop Chips and I. Now comes the part where we have to locate the hidden black market ourselves. Well, out of all the places we've been to, of course Dust Town would be it, as it's quite sketchy. So we make our way there, dodging cops along the way, and locate a building with a car on top of it. Once inside, we run into this old man who can tell us the way to the underworld, with him pointing to the path we need to take to reach it. Following his directions leads us to Dust Town 3rd Street, with a lot of shops to find and sketchy people surrounding the place, with the main man who has the key for the underworld inside this house here. This weird pink guy in a suit stands in our way, as he knows who we are and why we're here. He mentions that we want to head back to the black market, but all things come with a cost, with him requesting if we could have his granddaughter be a part of one of our VCs. We agreed to his request as we're told about the scrapyard on 2nd Street. With it hiding the path to the black market, it should help us learn the exact location to enter from. So now that we have a lead, let's act so we can clear our name. I decided to at least explore the area since there may be some clues around, as I stumbled upon this house called Beer Bobbage. How could I resist a place with an American cuss word on the front? Inside is this green guy who will arrange a song for you. Sadly, we lack the specific one he requires, but it's nice to keep a note of him. Now, I guess I ended up losing the footage for this, so we'll have to use stream footage instead. After exploring a few of the houses, I stumbled upon this talent known as Backroad. There's actually no art of him, and I never used him in the story, so I legit forgot he was in the game. After talking with the guy, he gives us the contract to use him for our VCs. We return back to talk with the old man from before and inform him about what we learned. He now will lead us the way to the underworld. Once inside, it's a bunch of speakers and people chilling. Upon talking to the green coat guy in the back, he runs away. We realize he might know something we don't, so we try chasing him just to run into police again and get arrested. Repeat Chicken helping us like before, but now we're in the Harmony building. This is when we tell Chicken what we learned and how that man ran away upon talking with him. Upon hearing this, Chicken springs into action as he has a plan, with him wanting us to make a VC that we can sell to the underworld with the hopes someone buys it and starts to create copies, making it easy to track who it is. So it's time now to make the banger VC the underworld will never forget. Upon finishing our project, we hand it off to Chicken, who is excited to have the plan commence. Chicken and I are now back at the black market as he announces our VC to everyone to check it out, with the people around us losing their minds as they beg Chicken for it, but our focus is on the old man from before. I go to talk with him and stumble upon him mentioning how with this new VC we made, making illegal copies will be way easier now. Chicken overhears the man talking to himself and approaches him with us as we finally found our culprit. The criminal starts to admit his wrongdoings but says how he had no choice in the matter since he needs the money badly, and the auction guys were willing to help as long as he followed what they said. We get taken aback by hearing about this as we never heard of the auction guys, so we ask who they are. Apparently, this is the group that are behind all the illegal copies and are known for their shady auctions they host. At first, we don't believe him, but then he adds how else would he have gotten the equipment to make the VC. But with not much else to work with, Chicken and I take the criminal back to the police to clear Pop Chip's name. Seeing the cops rush the guy down never felt so rewarding. Back inside Harmony Major, Don Noise talks to us about how he was surprised they assumed I was the culprit, even though he knew there was no way, as they thank Chicken for helping free me and clearing my name, as without him, no one else could have gotten to me. This is when he remembers we never sold our original VC because it was stolen, meaning we need to remake it if we want to sell anything. But in a way, it's good that it got stolen as we need to start from scratch, as we made a promise to use the guy's granddaughter for this stage's VC. So let's go find her. Weirdly enough, you can actually find her in Chilltown, which I thought she would be in Dusttown because, you know, this is kind of where the guy's at. At first, it seemed like they threw her here to have someone besides Chop be attainable, but when you remember the lighthouse in port being a big deal, plus the building you find her in being called Shark Bar, add that with their overall design, it's quite clever. Meet the one and only Rai. She's a 15-year-old pirate-themed talent who is somehow just hanging at a bar. Her design is interesting, however, or I should say design, since like everyone else, there's so many differences between each of the versions, with the sprite and 2D art having a good amount of things that make them unique, like hair color not being the same, belts, hook hands, and shoes, plus having different designs and color choices. Now looking at her guidebook art, it has a purple glove that is missing from every other version of her. Now if we head over to the 3D model, it brings a mishmash of her sprite and 2D art together, like the belt having the skull, the hook hand and hair having the same colors the sprite does. Her sword is also on display and looks closer to how it looks in her overworld sprite, as the guidebook has her with a gold skull on the base, while her 3D model has a white skull and a blue for the whole hilt. Now her special ability, I guess is what I would call it, if you get a breakout hit or higher, the contract amount will be cut in half. So if you plan to use her, better make sure you know what you're doing. Before leaving back to Harmony Major, we make one extra stop to get the arranged version for this mission song. But after all that is said and done, let's make our amazing VC. Now without fail, you already know we did well as I never lose. So we finish up our creation, sell it to the dealer in Vegas Town, and bam, best hit for 1.0 baby. Back at Harmony Major, Don Noise tells us how if we keep it up and put out quality like our last VC, we will for sure win an award in no time, with him reminding us the different types of nominations we could be selected for, and how these competitions are a great way to showcase all of our accomplishments up till now, with the biggest goal a clipper could have is being nominated in one of these categories. But again, to decide what you get selected for also comes down to if your VC sells in the first place, with us only having 3 more months before it's time, giving us not a lot of wiggle room to sharpen our skills and make sure we're selected. So with the idea becoming an entry for the VC Clipper Awards, it's time to lock in and game.
My brother's making money. I said, oh my geez Louise, I heard he's making money, so I said pass the cheese.
Now that we started a new stage, it means new rival VCs are for purchase. So heading to Stomptown, we can come across Bebop's newest movie, with the song titled Cool Jimmy. I have no idea who sings this song, so it's just one of those obscure tracks stuck without any credit. In the trial disc, this song does appear, but Woodblock is the one singing to it instead. Strangely, they decided to change it for the final release, but I don't know why. Next, rival VC is another from Castrat, and like before, no info on this track. However, it's titled Nocturne, and I don't like this one. The VC itself, however, really matches and I think is very well made, but I find it really funny to see this man sing nothing but ad-libs. The goth girl is back once again with probably my favorite pads for a song in the whole game, titled Golden Dance. This was the example song I used at the start to show how talents can affect the way a song sounds. This was another one created by Miyako, which I see the trend is whenever she has an original track in the game, it reaches my top 5 instantly. I also stand by that Belle Lyra is perfect for this track. Her voice sounds good and on par with Pia for quality and clarity. Next VC we unlock is Cafe de Moon. Sadly, another track I have no idea for info on, but it's one of the slower official VCs we see for Joey, as they usually put her in more happy, energetic songs. Overall, it's another nice VC from the devs for sure. Well, it's time to test my luck again with the mini VC awards from before. as I want to earn all the songs. We check out the Vegas Town Awards again, where we get another exclusive Pia VC to watch. The song that plays is the same one Bebop danced to for our first introduction to him. After submitting our VC to the mini awards, we got the last song being Jakajazu. This now brings me to the last band I haven't mentioned yet, with them making 2 songs in the game that I'm aware of. The band in question is called Kile High Ice. Now, if there was a band that straight up sounded like great hits music, this is them. With their first ever album called New Material screaming out the same vibes this game's OST brings. It's honestly so shit they are limited to the 2 songs I'm aware of, with one being missable because the group is quite unique. Even though they've disbanded quite a while back, they really left their mark on people who have listened to them. It's why I feel like they're worth covering quite a bit. Their style they went for is known as Visual Kei, a very gothic style in Japan, and man do they nail it. They originally formed in 1995 with YNI and Tara being the 2 members. Finding anything on them, however, is very hard. I was actually surprised to locate their first album and their other one titled Analog Fortune, plus a single video of them performing live. Besides that, I couldn't find anything really about this group, which sucks because I think out of everyone so far, this group nails the great hit sound. But I was able to figure out that they had in total 5 albums, with the most recent one being in 2017. But again, it's quite difficult to locate re-uploads of their tracks. Overall though, this band is cool as hell and I recommend checking them out for sure. Finally, after clearing all the optional quests and buying a lot of materials from shops, we can talk with Chicken to get this stage's VC song, with this composition being called Dreams. I really like the arranged version of this since it turns it from a slow-paced song to an energetic rock track. If you do want to go for the remix versions, you can find it in Stomptown. But when we return to create our VC, Chicken shouts at us, something is wrong. Apparently all the talents in Noise City have vanished. The president informs us that everyone was kidnapped and taken back to the black market to be auctioned off. Yeah, this game about making music videos has now turned into saving the talents from the slave trade. Don suggests that they stole everyone because of how much worth they bring to the city, since Noise City is the biggest place for clippers and talents to thrive in compared to anywhere else. So without them, Noise City would crumble, meaning the perpetrators want Noise City to disappear to help grow the towns outside of the prefectures. This is when our conversation is interrupted by a scream, as we all soon realize Pia is crying out. We hurry out to the main lobby to see our staff and Pia being kidnapped, just for us to follow the same fate soon after. We watch Pia get carried off as we're now all inside of a jail cell with the other talents from before. The seriousness of the situation is soon setting upon us. We really are kidnapped and no one can save us. Hearing the different talents cry out about what will come from this, it's quite disheartening, but as usual, Chicken has a plan. We get shots of him talking to other people in the black market to get info for Don and the police, with it soon paying off as we see the president and the police are ready to raid the area. We see Chicken come down to meet us in the cell area as he shares the info he gathered with everyone, with him telling us that there's a secret area under the cell we could use to create our own VCs. If we can make something so amazing that would be worth more than having the talents, we will all be set free. This is the only time in the game where you have a choice to pick any of the talents for no contract cost. However, even though we have the talent secured, we still lack any of our materials to make a VC. This is when Chicken shows us the way to the dump site, where we need to walk around and mash the circle button on everything till we acquire all of the VC creator tools. You can also get some exclusive backgrounds of all the talents if you decide to talk with Chicken before finishing your VC. Just another cool secret for the game, and I ended up using these a lot for sure. Finally, after an hour of making the holy grail of VCs, I head back upstairs and drop it off to Chicken and hope this will be enough to convince the guards. The next part I find quite funny because the game will now force you, if you don't skip, to watch the same VC you just made for each guard, meaning you have to watch it 4 times. Thank God you can skip it though. Now, no surprise to anyone, we single-handedly saved everyone in Pia from being shipped off somewhere, as everyone is so shocked by how amazing our creation is, begging to see more. But before long, the cops raid the area with Don Noise as they arrest everyone who was a part of this. Chicken runs downstairs to tell us that they have arrested the bad guys and we're now free to leave. It was all due to the power of music. Well, luckily for me, I saved my VC for the one I made to get us out of the kidnapping situation, because if you didn't, you would have to remake the whole thing from scratch to finish the level. But I submitted my creation again, and of course we won the best 1.0 hits, to the surprise of probably one person in the comments. And they're probably typing right now about how surprised they are for sure. After the screen faded to black, we cut back to Pia and Don telling us how I'm making really good VCs and easily could be nominated for an award at this rate. And he's also noticed she's been taking my side a lot more than his. Pia replies confused about what Don means, but he just says forget it as they need to head out to make the final VC for the award show. We then notice Pia runs back inside real quick to talk with me, as Chicken and I are going over how we need to aim to win and this is our only shot before the awards start. But then Chicken notices Pia has returned and without her even saying anything, he ends up leaving to let me and Pia talk alone. This is when she tells me that it's time for her and the president to make the final VC, so she will be gone till the awards start. She makes it clear she is worried about us as it's tough to make it in, but she knows we've been working hard as a clipper, so she wishes us to do our best and leaves, meaning the next time we will see her is when we partake in the awards show. It's now up to me and Chicken to create something amazing with the new song he has created for us. It's called Hands to Hands. This was the same song in the soundtrack OST where Kent Frick sang it. I already covered who this one was before, with it again being Suzuki, so for now, before we work on our VC, let's go grab the arranged version and the last rival movie still needed, as the final one to pick up is another Pia original, featuring the song Smooth Beat Again. Now that we have all the rival VCs, let's get the arranged version of Hands to Hands so that we can use it for our final creation before the awards. For the arranged version, I actually don't like it as much as the original song, but I wouldn't say they're both bad. Now for the talent, I decided to use this guy with the guitar. Wait a second. When the fuck we get this guy? So turns out the guy we saw named Backroad is the green man here. However, I assume they were different characters because 1, the sprite doesn't look like his model at all, or 2D art, and 2, I thought this guy's name was Packload. Because of the shit Google Translate, I then double checked and saw the katakana ha had 1010, which makes it ba. So let's cover the design. Who the fuck is this supposed to be? It doesn't match anything going on with his art or model, so I guess we will just outright say maybe this is him without makeup. I don't know, man. As for his model and 2D art, however, we see the 3D one doesn't have 2 shoes like the guidebook shows. He's also missing the 1 earring on his right ear. Besides that, the colors just seem slightly more saturated, but he's pretty close besides those very small differences, not counting the sprite. Well, after selling the VC to the dealer, Chicken is waiting for me at the lobby. He begins to talk to me about how at this point it's up to God if we will get nominated. With him going on about how he knows the president and Pia will make it, he just can't help but still worry if we're cut out for it. And cool fact, this is where you can get both bad endings, with the first one having you fail and not being selected for the VC awards, and Chicken just gets all sad and leaves. The second one is where you don't forgive him for the mistake you made, and then you get this really dark screen of you just hanging. Fucker killed himself. Jeez. But with that being said, the best 1.0 episode airs again, and what do you know? We won. Chicken and I are talking in his room as he tells me how happy he is for both of us, with us now needing to go to Hotel Paradise in Vegas Town where the awards are being hosted. It's time to see if we will be nominated or not, with Chicken saying if he isn't, then his work is done for now. This is what will decide if you, the player, will get the bad ending or good ending. To enter into the VC Awards, we head inside to the Clipper room commencing the award show. Inside the dressing area, we can see Don Noyes and the other Clippers. When you talk to them, they're all curious if I'll be the one nominated or not. But when you go over to Don Noyes, he'll tell you how he's glad we're here, and he notices our excitement for what the announcements will hold. With this award, we will see what the results of all our VCs sent are, and how well each Clipper really was doing. Finally, after what feels like forever, we hear the announcement come on, as they start saying the names of people who are being selected. As name after name is read, the last 3 remain as we walk out to hear the final results. But turns out, a tie has occurred, and to decide who wins this time, we're given a song and need to make a VC that outshines Don and Pia, which now means we're competing with Don Noyes. The announcer gives us some time to work our magic, so we head back to Harmony Major, as Don and I and everyone else start to talk in his office. Pia is unsure about what's going to happen now, as this has never occurred before. The fact 2 Clippers from the same company would be selected is quite unheard of. Chicken responds to Pia that no matter who wins now, there will be some bitterness. But Pia swiftly disagrees and lets me know it should be seen as downright impressive a rookie like me could be going against someone like Don Noyes. Don then adds about how till recently I was just a rookie, but I should see this as an honor no matter what, and gives me the respect whether I win or lose, with the rest of this now being up to me, and if I want to win, only I can do it, so it's time to make the VC, as my talent will be none other than Chop. The song we will be using this time around is none other than Step by Step. I have no info on who made this song sadly, so oh well. So we do what we gotta do in the VC room. making sure each camera is perfect, every background fills the VC with the mood needed to win. All of the lights shine down and show the true nature of Chop in his glory, and soon it all comes together. The VC is ready. We're now back at the VC Awards in Vegas Town, and the announcer is ready to showcase our works, as Dawn presents his VC with Pia being front and center, letting her charisma shine through, clearly showcasing the skills and work Don Noise himself has put into this, as he won't be an easy battle to win. But he forgot one thing. You see, Chop, he makes VCs for the everyday man. And if there's one thing I know as an everyday man myself, everybody fucks with Santa. Chop was on fire, launching bolts of lightning out of his ass, shrinking down and forming his molecules. This man was showing that no matter how tough the battle is, Santa fucks, and he fucks hard. As the screen fades back in, it's finally time to announce the winner of the VC Awards. Who would win? Pia and Dawn, or me and Santa? With that, we hear the announcer ready to say the name. As clear as the light that came out of Chop's ass, I won.
Yeah! Woo! Fuck him! Fuck him! I'm the best. I got Santa on my side. I don't know why I ever doubted it. Santa's always gonna fucking win, baby. Let's go. Fuck him. Fuck all these other stupid ass bitches. All we need is Santa in our life. That's it. Just Santa. Nothing else.
Back at the home base, we are all together. Pia mentions how she wanted both of us to win, but knew that I, CQ, would pull through, as if the child has finally caught up with the father. Don Noise adds how he's not disappointed, as this feels like watching his own child grow up. With him, more surprised we made it this far, if anything. But at the end of the day, I should be proud and feel good for putting my all in. This is when they all decide to go drink and celebrate my victory, but we see Pia stays behind to tell me that no matter what, there's no hard feelings, and she tells us to make sure to rejoice, as for tomorrow, I'll now be the rival everyone chases to surpass. She decides to give me a kiss before heading to the room, adding that she wants to know more about me as time goes on, since she's curious. Pia also requests that one day if I ever surpass the president, to make her our exclusive talent. We can now drink ourselves to death, as I finally did it. I'm the VC Clipper champ. We get greeted with a Pia exclusive VC for the ending to the song Sundance by CMJK. With credits rolling, but don't worry, we still have one last competition to beat, as the special competition is underway. I'll cover this kind of quickly because it's not that interesting. However, we go against the other Clippers, where we make 4 VCs and win, with each victory granting you a statue of your character in the Vegas Town lobby. But the final boss is none other than Pia herself, with us now having to compete with another one of our friends. I really like that the song used for this is Cheap Bicycle, which is such a nice callback to the first song we ever saw for her. Things like that show the devs had a keen eye for attention to detail, but no surprise, we won. And upon winning, we get another VC of Pia with Cheap Bicycle playing, but this time around it has unique visuals over the previous one she made, followed by the real game credits, signaling I, CQ, have finally beaten Great Hits. And I'm pretty positive I'm the first American YouTuber to beat this game on this site. I'm willing to bet $5 on it for sure. But yeah, that was Great Hits. A game so lost to time that even with the big names who worked on it, no one knows what the fuck this is. However, I can say right now, Great Hits for the PS1 is the most unique and obscure hidden gem on the system. Now, if you want to play this, I will make sure to have the guidebook scanned and on my Patreon, plus the walkthroughs I use for my playthrough, and a more condensed full playthrough of my journey will be in the description below, with my playthrough being there in case you want a video walkthrough. But keep in mind, this game is still a bit difficult to play with no Japanese knowledge, but let me be the example to show it's possible. I also want to make sure to mention that I will try my best to archive the music to the bands who took part in creating songs for this game, as I want to help get as much exposure to their original stuff as possible. So the link to the volume mixes will be in the description below as well. Feel free to check them out, but that being said, I have a special treat for you all, as I decided since the whole point of this game is to make music videos, why not partner with 2 other music producers and myself, and use visuals from the game to make this 3-song mix. So sit back and enjoy what we created, and I'll see you all next time for whatever I upload. Goodbye.